Imagine an empire so vast. It stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the doorstep of Europe, an empire built in just a few decades by nomadic horsemen from the desolate Central Asian steppes. This was the Mongol Empire, the largest contiguous land empire in history. A force that reshaped the world, leaving a legacy of both devastation and unprecedented cultural exchange. Our story begins not in grand cities, but in the harsh, windswept grasslands of what is now Mongolia. Here, various Mongol tribes lived a nomadic existence. Their lives were defined by pastoralism, constant movement, and fierce tribal rivalries. Survival in this unforgiving landscape bred resilience and formidable horsemanship. It was into this challenging world, round 1162, that a boy named Temüjin was born. His early life was fraught with hardship. His father, a tribal chieftain, was poisoned when Temüjin was young, leaving his family destitute and outcast. He faced poverty, betrayal, and even enslavement. Yet, these trials forged his character. Temüjin learned to survive, to form alliances, and to strategize with cunning and determination. He began to unite the disparate Mongol tribes, not just through conquest, but by breaking traditional loyalties and promoting talent based on merit rather than birth. He offered protection and opportunity, drawing warriors to his banner. His military organization was revolutionary. In 1206, Temüjin convened a great assembly, a Kurultai. There, he was proclaimed Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. This moment marked the birth of the Mongol Empire. They perfected the famed retreat tactic, drawing enemies into ambushes. Genghis Khan's genius lay in his military innovations. He organized his army using a decimal system, dividing units into groups of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. His cavalry was unparalleled in mobility, able to cover vast distances quickly. Striking unexpected blows, Mongol communication was swift thanks to an efficient postal relay system called the Yam, allowing commanders to coordinate across vast distances. His first major campaigns targeted the powerful Jin dynasty in northern China and the Tangids of western Xia. Genghis also understood psychological warfare. He often offered surrender, but those who resisted faced utter devastation, spreading terror that often led to submission without a fight. Siege warfare was quickly mastered, employing engineers and adopting technology from conquered peoples, enabling them to conquer fortified cities thought impregnable. Under Genghis Khan, the Mongol war machine began its relentless expansion. These early conquests honed their tactics and provided valuable resources, including siege engineers and administrators. A pivotal moment came with the invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire in Persia, modern-day Iran and Central Asia around 1219. He laid the groundwork for an empire of unprecedented scale. This was a brutal response to the murder of Mongol envoys and merchants, a grave insult to Genghis Khan's diplomatic overtures. The destruction was absolute. Cities like Samarkand and Bukhara were razed, and populations were massacred or enslaved. This campaign opened the path westward. They swept through Kiev and Rus, destroying cities and scattering forces. However, the unexpected death of Ogedai Khan led to the withdrawal of Mongol armies for a Kurultai to elect a new great Khan. By the time of Genghis Khan's death in 1227, his empire stretched from the Caspian Sea to the Pacific Ocean. The empire provided security for merchants, fostering an explosion of commerce. The vastness of their empire, for a time, ushered in a period known as the Pax Mongolica, or Mongol peace. His sons and grandsons continued his work. Ogedai Khan, Genghis's third son and chosen successor, further expanded the empire. Under Ogedai, Mongol armies pushed deep into Russia and Eastern Europe. This pragmatic approach allowed diverse populations to coexist under Mongol rule. In 1241, Mongol forces decisively defeated Polish and German armies at the Battle of Legnica and Hungarian forces at the Battle of Mohi. Europe stood on the brink of a full-scale invasion. This withdrawal, more than European resistance, saved Western Europe from full Mongol conquest. The Mongols were not merely destroyers. Across their domains, trade routes, particularly the famed Silk Road, flourished like never before. This era facilitated an unprecedented exchange of goods, ideas, technologies, and even diseases between East and West. Innovations like gunpowder, paper money, the printing press, and the compass traveled from China to the Middle East and Europe. The Mongols, though shamanistic themselves, generally practiced religious tolerance after Genghis Khan's death. The empire eventually fragmented into several semi-independent khanates, ruled by his descendants. The most prominent were the Yuan dynasty in China, the Golden Horde in Russia, the Ilkhanate in Persia, and the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia. Maintaining control over such diverse and distant lands proved increasingly difficult. Kublai Khan, a grandson of Genghis, conquered the southern Song dynasty, completing the Mongol conquest of China. Rebellions by local populations, tired of heavy taxation and foreign rule, became more frequent. He established the Yuan dynasty in 1271, ruling from his magnificent capital, symbolic modern-day Beijing. This was the peak of Mongol power and influence, and spread along Mongol trade routes, significantly impacted their populations, and weakened their control in the mid-14th century. It was during Kublai Khan's reign that Marco Polo visited China, providing Europeans with vivid accounts of the rich and sophisticated East. The Ilkhanate, ruling Persia and parts of the Middle East, destroyed the Abbasid Caliphate and sacked Baghdad in 1258, a devastating blow to the Islamic world. The Mongols inadvertently facilitated global interconnectedness, creating an integrated Eurasia. Yet, the Ilkhans eventually converted to Islam and became great patrons of art and science, leading to a flourishing of Persian culture. The Golden Horde established a long-lasting dominance over the various Russian principalities, demanding tribute and shaping Russian political development for centuries. Despite their immense power, the Mongol Empire began to decline by the late 13th and 14th centuries. And to the complex, transformative forces that can emerge from the unlikeliest of places to reshape the entire world. Internal divisions and succession struggles between the different khanates led to civil wars, weakening central authority. The vastness of the empire itself became a challenge. The Mongols, a minority in most of their conquered territories, gradually assimilated into the cultures they ruled in Persia. They became Muslim in China. The Yuan rulers adopted many Chinese customs and administrative practices. This assimilation sometimes diluted their distinct identity. Economic mismanagement, corruption, and overextension led to financial strain. While not a primary cause of the empire's initial decline, the bubonic plague, or Black Death, which originated in Asia by the end of the 14th century. The great Mongol Empire had largely dissolved into smaller, successor states, yet its legacy is undeniable. They transmitted knowledge, technologies, and crops across continents, profoundly influencing developments in agriculture, warfare, and printing. Though their conquests were often brutal and destructive, they also catalyzed the formation of new states and shifted power dynamics. The Mongol Empire stands as a unique testament to the power of nomadic peoples, to military brilliance,